El cuarto de Mateo! Hi, welcome to Bilingual Family TV, the place to be if you want to create meaningful relationships with your child while learning Spanish. So today we're here in Mateo's room, and I actually don't know if this is where the crib is going to go or if that picture is even going to go there, which that picture, by the way, my mom bought at our art auction at Bilingual Family for Mateo's room. And so I'm not sure if this is the setup, but I just wanted to record this video here because I feel like a baby's room truly represents family and bilingual family. And so today's video is about making the decision to raise bilingual children. My husband and I, from the very beginning, we always knew that we wanted to raise bilingual children. And now it's become a reality. So I want to tell you sort of the 3 steps that we have walked through to make this decision. So the very first step is pretty obvious, but it is actually making the decision to raise bilingual children. Even if you're not a native speaker, you can raise bilingual children. So just making that decision, making that conscious decision will help you make smaller decisions along the way, which will get you to that end result. And I think it's important to note that being bilingual is a long-term process, and it's not going to happen, in 1 year or 2 years. So when you make that decision, you know it's going to be a long-term decision. So I would say that is step number 1, is making the decision to raise bilingual children. Step number 2 is to find or identify, rather, who are going to be your language resources, or what is going to be your language resource. So that could be yourself if you are a Spanish speaker, and even if you're not, and we'll get to that. But that could be a family member. So if your spouse is a Spanish speaker, then he or she can be the language resource, or a family member, or a Spanish teacher, finding somebody. But there are a couple of things that are important about this person. This person has to be someone who's going to be in your child's life long term. Because as we always mention in our videos, relationships are so important in learning a second language. So you can't build a relationship in 6 months. It takes a long time. And part of maintaining that language is having those relationships. So that's a really key factor. And surprisingly, the second factor is not necessarily that the person speaks the second language, because it could be yourself. Even if you're not a native speaker, you can raise bilingual children, and I'll get to that in a second. But my neighbor is mowing. So even if you're not a native speaker, you can decide to be that language resource for your child, because you can decide to learn that second language together. And I actually think that's one of the best ways to learn a second language is with your child. So definitely use that. Step number 3 is picking a format. So that can be one place, one language. So that's what we originally thought about doing with my husband. Was our home was going to be in Spanish. Anytime we were at home, we would speak in Spanish, and everywhere else it would be English. However, as we really started to think about how much time our child would be listening to Spanish versus listening to English, we realized that we really needed to have a little bit more English because, I'm a Spanish speaker. My mom is a Spanish speaker. Our child will go to Bilingual Family where we speak Spanish. So we really needed a little bit more English in order to really have that 50-50 English and Spanish. And so we decided to go with one parent, one language. So one parent's going to speak Spanish and the other parent is going to speak in English. So that's another option that you can do, is one parent, one language. And then a third option that you can do is pick a day of the week. So you could pick Saturday as your English day, which is what my mom did. I'm sorry, as your Spanish day or your Chinese day or your Japanese day. Basically, pick a day for the foreign language or the second language that you're going to be learning, and use that language during that week. This is something that works great for parents who are not native speakers, because realistically, if you're not a native speaker, it's going to be difficult to do your day-to-day, like, get dressed, let's go, we have to get in the car, be careful, help me with this. During the day, it's pretty hectic during the week, so you can pick a weekend day to use Spanish or use the second language that day. And this is something, like I said, that I recommend for people who are not native speakers. This is exactly what my mom did when I was in Colombia. She picked Saturdays as our English day, and we would carry out our day in English. This by no means means doing a lesson that day, learning the days of the week on Saturday, learning the colors on Saturday, the next Saturday, and the next Saturday learning, animals. It means doing your day, doing your regular routine, your everyday routine in that foreign language, in that target language. And yet another option would be to pick a routine, which is actually what I encourage parents to do who are not native speakers, is to simply pick a routine that your child enjoys, that you enjoy, and do it in Spanish. So typically, routines like bath time or meal time, they don't take the time that you actually spend speaking and communicating is not that long. So if you pick a routine like waking your child up or brushing their teeth or meal time, if you pick one of those and you decide to do it in Spanish for a whole month, by the end of the month it's going to be second nature, and you're really going to absorb that vocabulary, and it's going to be drilled in your mind and in your child's mind because you've been doing it every day in a real and meaningful way. And after a month, you can add another routine and so on. So this is also a good way to become a bilingual family. So let's run through those 3 steps. The first step is making the decision to become a bilingual family. The second step is identifying who is going to be your language resource, whether that is a family member or yourself, just deciding who's going to be your language resource. And the third is to decide how you're going to make it happen. So are you going to do one language, one place, one language, or one parent, one language, one day, one language, or one routine in one language? So now that we've walked through all that, I'm going to let you know what we are doing. I think I put little nuggets of it throughout this video, but just kind of so you can see what this would look like. So first of all, we made the decision that we want to raise bilingual children. I think we made it long ago, before we even knew we wanted to have children. I think it was just in the back of our minds that we wanted to raise bilingual children. And it's sort of a no-brainer for us. Then the second step is identifying the language resource. Our baby's going to have a lot of language resources, but I'm going to be the main language resource for Spanish, and John's going to be the language resource for English. He's also going to have my whole side of the family as a language resource and bilingual family as a language resource for Spanish. So I think for us, the main focus is we need to focus on the language resource for English, which is going to be John, and obviously the environment, wherever we go to the store, wherever we go anywhere, he's going to be hearing the English language. Also, John's family is going to be speaking in English, so he's sort of going to get the 50-50. And so those are the language resources. And then lastly, we are going to use mainly one parent, one language. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be speaking in Spanish, John's going to be speaking in English. So I hope that this was helpful. I am so excited to raise a bilingual child and have even more to say about it, about the struggles, because I know it's not going to be easy. And I'm just excited to finally be part of bilingual family as a parent. So I love you and I wish you the best of luck. We are going to raise bilingual children. Adios! Belly shot. This is a 20-week belly shot. Mateo! Hola, Mateo!